we're back with Inside Sports Fantasy Football. And coming up right after that is the Lakers Fast Break. Coming up after that with a snack pack as well. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for joining us. Truly appreciate you doing so. From the Lakers Fast Break, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, also as well Pop Culture Cosmos. Go ahead and like and subscribe to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break Podcasts, Pop Culture Cosmos, and Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Want to go ahead and make sure everyone knows out there, NFL Week 12 is coming in the not too distant future. As we're talking about this, make sure you got your buys covered. Several good teams are on a bye week this week, at least for mine. So I had to do some scrambling. Hopefully you will be able to do some scrambling too. If you need help with your waiver wire pickups, with your lineups, trades, I think most of the trade deadlines are either right on the cups or already done with. But if you still can work out a trade and you need some help, please let us know. isfantasyfootball@yahoo.com. Well, we're here, NFL Week 12. Yes, it is, of course, also as well, the Lakers Fast Break. We're coming up here in just a few minutes for that, but it is Week 12 on the horizon. But before we get into our picks for NFL Week 12, I wanted to go over a little bit of what's going on in the NFL. And here today to discuss this are two great guys indeed. It is, of course, first and foremost, the guy behind Ox 1947 at LakersBall.com, and of course, Simblades with a Y.com. It is Joe Soro. Joe, this week I think it's going to be a special one for you because the main topic of the day is the Pittsburgh Steelers coming in at a hefty 8-2 record as they face off against the Browns. They're not the highest scoring team in the world. In fact, if you go and look on your fantasy football charts out there, no one really stands out. You know, they did have the switch over to Russell Wilson, who has done an admirable job so far. They do have Najee Harris. They do have a couple of solid players for your fantasy football mix, but nobody stands out. And in an era of offensive football, Joe, that's kind of surprising that they're doing so well without having that one or two singular guys, like we talked about last week with the Ravens, that are really reliant on the offensive side of the football.
I saw something on Sunday I hadn't seen in a while. And I don't know if it was Roger Goodell who made a call and said, let there be light, or in the Raven Steeler rivalry, let there be heads coming off. That game was the first football game I can remember in a long time where the physicality was felt through the TV. And both Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson were happy feeding it all day. I think there were 7 Ravens that ended up checking out of the game. And the most important one was probably the guy that ended up probably giving a little bit of enough of the edge to Pittsburgh so that they can win it, which is Raekwon Smith. He had 13 tackles before his hamstring went out on him. That's how just brutal this rivalry has been. And I hadn't seen it. I had not seen this kind of physicality in the NFL in a while. So I don't know what's going on in the NFL. I know that the defenses have caught up with the offenses. That's pretty obvious. But it was really nice to see football. It was really nice to see old football on Sunday. And it's been kind of it's been starting to linger a little bit, not in just the Steeler games or Raven games, but all over the NFL. And it's nice. I obviously the win was huge. As far as Russell Wilson and how the Steelers are kind of coming about, that half the Steelers' offensive line are rookies, and they only really have one receiver, and they have a good tight end, and then they have a good running back with a scat back as a backup. They don't really have anything explosive on the Steelers side. As far as Baltimore and why they didn't perform well, the reason why they don't perform well, usually teams that don't perform well against the Steelers, is if they aren't a step ahead, you're going to have a problem. If you're even, you are going to get hurt. What I mean by that is the hurt comes harder when you're not a step ahead of them, because if you're playing even with them, they're gonna hurt you. They have enough room and time to hurt you. And that's what they do to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson reminds me of Chris Johnson. Uh, you remember Chris Johnson, 2,000 yards, running back for the Tennessee Titans.
Mm-hmm.
I would run over everyone. He would run everywhere, and he would not have a problem until he played the Steelers. When he played the Steelers, you could see him hesitate, just getting out of the block, just getting out from the backfield. I formation, counter, didn't matter what it was. The second Palomalo came out of nowhere and just smacked him in the thigh, it was almost like he checks out right at that point. Or if it was anyone else playing linebacker at that point, whether it was James Harrison or Larry Foote or any of those guys. So I was very, very happy that I saw football again in what I can remember it Sunday.
Chris, let me bring you on in here. It is Chris Sardieri from the Domination Sports Nation. Wanted to ask your thoughts on this. Again, nobody on the Steelers really stands out fantasy football wise. They don't have a ton of scores on the offensive end for fantasy football players. Is there any true viable options as far as someone that or some part of the football team known as the Pittsburgh Steelers you can rely on for fantasy football owners for the rest of the season?
Absolutely. His name's Chris Boswell, and he pissed off a lot of fantasy owners that went up against him this past week with his counting for all of the Steelers' points. And, he likes to kick them far, unlike Justin Tucker, and it's frustrating owners this year. So I think if you've got Boswell, you should hold on to him, be happy all year that you got a kicker. For instance, I've got Young Wei Koo on one team, and he suddenly can't make any field goals. So, I think he's the lone bright spot fantasy wise, but to Joe's point, it was an enjoyable football game to watch and not sit there and think about fantasy. I almost felt like I was having some sort of flashback to the 1980s or 90s where, oh, did he get that? Did he not get it? I think too, Justin Fields sliding short of the yard marker I thought was going to turn the game around. Thankfully it didn't, but yeah, short of Boswell and the Steelers D, I don't think there are a ton of options. But if you're a Steelers fan like Joe, I think all that goes out the window because you're enjoying 8-2 right now.
So if that's the case, again, 8-2, I think they're playing even above what you were talking about most of the preseason, then early in the season, what you thought that the Steelers would do, Joe. You being the ardent fan of the Steelers that you are, if that's the case, how far do you think this can go? We just saw finally someone able to go ahead and upend the Chiefs. Their undefeated season is done. So let's talk just about the AFC first. How far do you think they can go in the AFC?
It looks like I'm wrong. I'm gonna be wrong on my assessment of the Steelers this year.
You were softer than you were last season on them.
Yeah, it was not good. It was similar to the Laker kind of result, and I'm looking like I'm wrong in both cases. Of course, I'm happy that I'm wrong. Thank you. Please let me continue to be wrong. I don't know where the Steelers are going to end up in this thing. What I did say about a month in is I felt that there was going to be a team that doesn't have an all-world quarterback that can probably win this Super Bowl. There's three quarterbacks right now off the top of my head. Yes, I know Lamar Jackson is a very good player, but I don't have him above Goff, Mahomes, and Allen from Buffalo. I'm not scared of Lamar Jackson. I've never been scared of Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen can be scary, not really, really scared of him. Goff, whatever Ben Johnson's doing over there, he's starting to get scary, but he also can throw 5 interceptions too. The only guy I'm scared of in this league is Patrick Mahomes for two reasons. Number one, because he's great. Number two, because he's now in that Tom Brady role. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt with the officiating. That's sometimes the scariest part about that. And especially when it comes down to, the important games. So how I'm looking at how this ends up, if the Steelers are to make a run, they have to have the offensive line finally get to a point where they're consistent game in and game out. And it's been difficult because it's been a injury carousel. And to put a button on that, it's going to come down to who is going to be the healthiest in the end. It really is. I don't know. I just don't know. But I'd love to see a home playoff game for once. I think that's something that's been missing for a while now. The Steelers have been making the playoffs barely a few.
Did I lose Joe?
Think so.
Yeah, lost Joe. Okay. He's gonna his internet is still playing games with them, I guess. But Chris, did you want to finish it up? How good are these Steelers?
I think they're really good, but to Joe's point, they're looking down the barrel of two of the best quarterbacks in all of the NFL, and Mahomes and Allen. And I know they faced off last week, and everyone thinks the Bills are set to supplant the Chiefs. Remains to be seen, but
yeah, I'm not taking that much away from one victory by the Bills.
But tap them before they beat them in the regular season and lose to them in the playoffs. But I do think, as we talked about probably about a month ago on this show, that you can't write off Josh Allen. And I thought the Bills would coast to the AFC East title, which it looks like they will, barring any injuries. But what worries me, I think Mike Tomlin's a great coach. I love that defense. I love the way they play football. But is Russell Wilson going to win you a game in January when you need to? He might one or two, but I don't see him supplanting either of those teams. But regardless, I think they'll have a further run than last year, and it'll be somewhat prettier than having Mason Rudolph at quarterback.
So with that, that's the reason why I wanted to touch on it, because I know Joe, again, he is the ardent Steelers fan, but he watches them really closely and is a fan of the NFL. Chris, I know you're keeping an eye on them too, because quite frankly, you can actually keep your eyes somewhere else because of what's going on in New York right now. For both the Jets and the Giants right now, it's kind of ugly. Well, actually, it's really ugly. But with that being said, let's bring it back to you, Joe. Chris provided his thoughts on how far he thinks the Steelers may get. Is there a shot for the Steelers heading to the Super Bowl?
Yes, there is a shot, but the offensive line is going to have to stay healthy. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I seem to be doing okay, Jake Nine. I'm registering, so don't know what's going on.
Hey, Jake, how you doing? Yeah, I want to make sure you guys can hear me. I don't know what's going on with the internet.
Yeah, so keep going, my friend. I'll see if I can do it on my end.
Okay.
Here.
Okay, so you can hear me? Everyone can hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
okay, good.
I can hear you.
Yes, there is a very good chance that this team can go to the Super Bowl. However, it's going to have to go through Buffalo and Kansas City at the moment. Those are two very, very scary teams if they're playing well. Ravens, I'm going to gauge the Ravens off of Monday night. If they lose against the Chargers on Monday, then I think they're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're in trouble in terms of winning the division, and how that plays out will play out the way it does. And I don't know if you guys heard me say this about Lamar Jackson. I didn't know if I got cut off too early. But Lamar Jackson has never scared me. He has never scared me.
You said Mahomes is the only one that scares you.
He's the only one I'm scared of. Jared Allen, to a degree, just because he can kill you with those runs on a 3rd and 8, and all of a sudden, you've done everything right, and all of a sudden he goes and gets a first down on a run. Of course, Lamar Jackson is good at doing that too, but I just think there's a fear factor that Lamar Jackson has against the Steelers that gives me kind of an ease about him. Jared Allen and Patrick Mahomes are they've been beating up the Steelers here the last few years. And even though the Steelers have beaten him, they've beaten Buffalo in this time, it's still those guys are going to be a problem if they're not dropping some points. See, I don't think Kansas City's as good on offense as they have been in the past. Their defense is obviously better, but those things change when the games matter. I'm just kind of enjoying the fact that they're 8-2. They're going to be playing an early game here this week. They win tomorrow, and they have a week and a half off. It's almost like having another bye. So they are playing Cleveland, and Thursday night games usually go really well for the Steelers. So I'm just crossing my fingers that they can escape with a win here with no one getting injured. And then they got a nice almost bye week where they can really start focusing in on playing Baltimore again.
Law Malcolm says he thinks the Washington Commanders are a much better team than Pittsburgh. Obviously, they're doing very well behind their young quarterback. Joe, I see you smirking already, so I know you have a retort in mind before I get it back to you, Chris. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. Set the stage for me.
I actually saw that before you mentioned it, Charlie. It gave me a good laugh. That's what the mute buttons were. I think the best thing the Commanders did this past week on Thursday night is they got the Philadelphia fans to chant "Thank you, Giants." And this cynic in me, knowing Philadelphia fans, thought they were saying "F you, Giants" at first, and then I realized they were thanking Joe Shane for his idiotic move of letting Saquon go to the Eagles. But that's about all the Commanders have done here of late.
All right. Again, I think right now, if you're the Detroit Lions, and we'll talk about them next week, I think that's a team I think everybody in the NFL, both AFC and NFC, have to deal with it, at some point in time, because I think that team is really riding on a high. But Joe, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're under the radar. They're doing it almost like the way they used to do it. They used to do it with nothing flashy, nothing out there. Fantasy football owners, like Chris was talking about, well, they're, didn't mention a quarterback, didn't mention running back, didn't mention receiver, mentioned special teams is where you could finally find some reliability in with the fantasy game part of it. So they're getting it done old school, Joe. And in the end, you're not relying on one or two players to get the job done. It's more of a team effort. And in the end, that might actually be better for a run in the playoffs.
This Steeler team isn't necessarily set. I mean, I'm looking at it this way: that the 2015 Denver Broncos, I think, in a lot of ways, Russell Wilson is a little bit better than Peyton Manning was that year, because Peyton Manning was barely moving. But it would have to take that kind of run where they're able to defeat the nemesis, right? Peyton Manning had one last great game in that playoff, and it happened to be against Tom Brady in the AFC Championship game. He struggled to beat the Steelers in that game until our third running back fumbled the ball at the worst time. And that's been the issue in some of these games in the past few years with the Steelers, is they either lost Le'Veon Bell for the AFC title game, or Antonio Holmes gets shellacked by that piece of shit Vontaze Burfict after a play. It's been like kind of bad luck at the worst time with those type of things. So if I fast forward to this particular team, you have, in a lot of ways, in my opinion, the best football player, maybe not the MVP, because, they like to give these MVPs to quarterbacks and that's it. But I still believe that TJ Watt is the best football player in the NFL. And I want to see him equipped to go into a playoff run where he can get unleashed, to see if maybe he can have a Von Miller type run like the Broncos had in 2015. And that's kind of where I look at it on that. And when you have a kicker like Boswell in these close games, that's where that becomes an asset, especially if you're playing in Pittsburgh. or if you're playing in cold weather in general, which you would in Kansas City in January, and of course in Buffalo in January. There's a lot of excitement. I really, I. It's funny how you're. It's funny how one year can change everything. Last year at this time, I'm looking at the Lakers, I'm looking at the Dodgers, I'm looking at the Steelers, and I'm going, God, my teams are they're just not doing it, man. They're just failing it in terms of competing for the championship. Like they're still playing well enough and they're winning games, but they're not. I don't feel like I'm like, ooh, this is a championship run. And within 1 year, you got the Lakers who are 10-4. Dodgers just raked through this playoff run, and Dodgers raked through this playoff run and won a World Series. And then, of course, the Steelers are 8-2. And I thought this was probably going to be the first non-winning season since 2003. So it's nice. I'm just trying to enjoy it as best I can. Just like the Laker games, every game, I'm just trying to enjoy this run, enjoying good football. I was just very, very happy that I was able to watch a Ravens-Steeler game and feel like I was watching that same game from like 2008. Because those were, I thank the football gods that I was able to be alive for those games, because in my opinion, those Ravens-Steeler games it was the best rivalry, at least for that decade. And I don't think there was anything close. You had the Yankees and you had Boston Red Sox in baseball at that time. And then you had the Ravens-Steelers in football, no doubt.
So with that, it is NFL Week 12. It is, of course, Inside Sports Fantasy Football. It's Joe Soro, a.k.a. Ox1947, LakersBall.com, and Simblades with a Y.com, and Chris Sardieri from the Domination Sports Nation, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. Coming up here in just a few minutes, we'll be bringing you the snack pack for the Los Angeles Lakers, talking about Dalton Knecht and also what's going on with the Lakers for tomorrow night's game against the Orlando Magic. But Chris, I'm going to bring it to you first. It is NFL Week 12. Some interesting matchups to say the least. I know that there's some interesting goings on with as far as coaching changes, possible coaching changes, position changes, quarterback changes, leading tacklers in the past couple of weeks. Some of them have been waived. That's so funny. It always is interesting to me when somebody leads the team in tackles and then the next week they find themselves out of the job. It just blows me away sometimes when I saw that, like I saw it last week. I think it was for Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. But be that as it may, NFL Week 12 is on the horizon. Before we get to a chance to go down to the the doghouse, are there any matchups for fantasy football owners or just the regular casual fan at large need to be interested in just from a viewing perspective?
Yeah, from both perspectives, for me, it's the Arizona Cardinals going into Seattle to take on the Seahawks. The Cardinals, you're not seeing things. They currently lead the NFC West. Kyler Murray, for all his, I don't know, just crap he gets on social media for playing Call of Duty every year. It looks like that's gone by the wayside. He's embraced it, and it's not affected his performance this year. Marvin Harrison Jr. seems to be catching on here as a rookie in the NFL. And the Seahawks with a huge win last week. Geno Smith, say what you want about the guy. He pulled one out of his hat, scrambled for a touchdown against the 49ers. I think JSN's starting to look good. Geno's been connecting with him. So I think on both sides of the ball, I'm hoping and looking for an offensive back and forth game. And then, too, it's just jockeying for first place in the West with, frankly, how disappointing the 49ers have been. And now with Nick Bosa out, I think that makes it even more interesting. You've got the Rams lurking there too, with the Seahawks looking to take control of the division. So that's one game I'm looking forward to.
Ralph D. Joe has a question for you. He says, who's in a worse position, the Jets or the Cowboys as an organization? I know that Jerry has been receiving lots of comments as of late. And of course, he always responds in kind on whatever local radio station in Texas he likes to go ahead on. And then the Jets, you hear the rumors that the owner called, said, hey, that Aaron Rodgers guy we spent a boatload of money on, not quite working out. I'd like to see him benched. that's a possibility that may have happened as well. So, your thoughts? Who's in a worse position, Joe? The Jets or the Cowboys?
That's like saying, would you rather burn or drown? That's a tough one. The thing is with the Cowboys is until Jerry Jones croaks, I'm not wishing for that, by the way. I'm just saying, until he's gone and not able to run this team, nothing's going to change. So let's flip it on that. The Jets have been. See, here's the thing with the Jets, and it might be because I like Aaron Rodgers because he pisses people off. I just something about Aaron Rodgers that makes me happy sometimes because he pisses people off. Um, at least they're trying, and sometimes I give you a little bit of kudos there. They tried. They went to they had a phenomenal draft for a couple of years there, got some amazing talent, and then all they really needed was a quarterback. At least that's what we thought at the time, and they went and got him. And then when that happened, what was that? 18 minutes into the game, he blows out his Achilles. So, and then he comes back, and what are you expecting from a guy that's been in the league almost 20 years, coming back from an Achilles injury? It wasn't likely going to look good. Hell, if Kobe Bryant couldn't come back and be Kobe Bryant, who's Aaron Rodgers, right? And that's where they're at. I don't know what they went to go. They went and got Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams, I know for a fact, if you sit next to him in private, boy, did he make a mistake trying to go to the Jets. He should have went to Pittsburgh. He made a huge mistake not pushing himself to Pittsburgh, and maybe he did, or maybe the Steelers weren't going to give the compensation that the Raiders would want. But I think that was a mistake on his part. I think he should have went with a much safer team, because we could have definitely used him, by the way. Or I should say the Steelers should have used him. I don't like saying we. I think the Cowboys are in a worse spot because it's never going to end as long as Jerry's around. And Jerry doesn't look like a guy that's going anywhere. He'll probably be there another 10 years, for all we know. The Jets could get lucky if the Cincinnati Bengals can get a Joe Burrow and have him, even though they're struggling right now, but he's playing well. If Mike Brown is able to have a team, even though he's a numbnut, anything's possible. Maybe they get somebody finally in the draft that can help them. There's always one franchise player away from that happening, no matter what your team is. So I'd say the Jets are in a better position, I think, in the end than Dallas, because as long as Jerry's running things in Dallas, nope, that team will never succeed, at least according to what they're supposed to be succeeding with.
That's funny because I had a friend note to me about the Bengals season so far. Number 1 ranked quarterback in passing yards and passing TDs. Number 1 ranked wide receiver in catches, receiving yards, and TDs. Number 1 ranked defensive player in sacks, yet somehow they have a 4-7 record. But for fantasy football owners like myself, who have a certain wide receiver in Jamar Chase, it's been a great season for me so far, as far as from his standpoint. But let's get back to the New York Jets debacle, and then we'll go and hit the doghouse. Chris, are you available? Because I think in New York they need themselves a new GM. I think they just had a lot of problems there. But which organization do you feel is the one worse off? Because as noted in the chat, the Jets do have the longest playoff drought.
Yeah, they do. I'll asterisk it with this. If Woody Johnson does indeed go back to his old job as U.S. ambassador in the UK, I think Christopher Johnson is by far the more level-headed of the siblings, and maybe he hires an actual general manager and lets him do his job and they get a coach, they're going to have a high draft pick this year. And I agree with Joe. They've got a lot of talent. Joe Douglas did that job. I mean, the quarterback was the missing piece, but Woody meddled too much. I mean, Woody's trying to do his best George Steinbrenner 1980s impression here, and it's not working. If he goes away and they like George was banned from baseball and Gene Michael built that team from the ground up into the 90s dynasty it became, maybe there's some hope for the Jets. They're going to cut bait with Rodgers. Maybe they just go sign sign a quarterback to plug it in, or if they think Tyrod Taylor could hold down the fort for a year until potentially the QB they draft high this coming April. So I think there's a little bit more room for optimism with the Jets. That being said, the only good thing about being a Giants fan right now, it's another organization in disarray, is that I'm not a Jets fan. But again, Jerry Jones, there's all this talk. Maybe Belichick will go to Dallas. That won't happen. He tried it once with Parcells. It didn't work. Belichick would probably rather go to Jacksonville or Cincinnati before he works for Jerry. So that's my 2 cents on that.
He's happy right now with that young lady in his life, 50 years younger than he is? So.
Yeah, that's a psychologist's dream right there too.
Well, there you go. That's all I'll say about that one. Before I head on out, Joe and Chris, I just wanted to mention that it's still a little chilly outside. If you're on the Pacific Northwest, I hope everyone is safe from that bomb cyclone that hit that area hard. Hope you're safe. I know I was worried about my son who lives right in the middle of it, as far as concerned, but he is okay. But with that said, hopefully people out there in the Pacific Northwest, when they look across their lawns, they see all the damage done by the bomb cyclone, but still standing is the dog right there inside the woof, 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 the doghouse. So, Joe, NFL Week 12, taking a look at the odds. What is one particular underdog that you might have for this weekend? Because I think Mark might want to know.
This one has there's some good ones, but I'm gonna say the one that I feel really good about. Now it's gonna sound weird, but I think the Bears beating Minnesota. I think that's my upset of the week.
For someone who's not spoken well about Caleb Williams, that's kind of surprising.
Yeah, Bears are they're only plus 3.5 at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel pretty good that, especially with the line, right? So I see that. I could see that game so much in my head being 20-17 and just sitting there and laughing to myself. So that's kind of how I look at it. By the way, when I mean by that, Minnesota winning 2017 too. I could see either way. So yeah, my upset of the week is the Bears beat Minnesota.
Law Malcolm, who did say Bronny was better than the NBA players in the league? Please clarify.
Man, that guy is. I don't. That guy. Look, I'm not going to use the T word on this, but that guy either is somewhere in Aruba or somewhere in some asylum at Arkham. That guy has no idea what the hell's going on. That guy imagines. Literally, he's been saying things we're not even talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
We didn't even talk about Bronny. What are you talking about?
He should have never said Bronny was better than the NBA. He said he was not better than. He's been saying he's not an NBA player. Hello, but anyways, that's the basketball talk for later on. But Chris, you are one of the main guys around the doghouse, so you step right up, pat that dog who survived the bomb cyclone. Who do you have for your doghouse pick of the week?
There are a couple interesting options out there this week. Ironically, both LA teams are home dogs, getting 3 on Sunday night and Monday night, respectively. But I'm going to go out on a limb here. I know everyone's down on the 49ers right now. They're going into Green Bay. It looks like the consensus is they're getting 2 points. I think it was I don't want to say it was a fluke last week that they lost to the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are a tough team, but losing Bosa in the middle of the game doesn't help. But I am not impressed with what I see in the Green Bay Packers. They should have lost to the Bears last week. Matt Eberflus should get a Christmas gift sent from Green Bay sometime soon. I happen to think that the Lions worked them a couple weeks ago. I know they're playing, record wise, they look like they're good on paper. I'm just not impressed with them. And I think this could be one of these games that could make or break the rest of the 49ers season. And I don't see them losing in Green Bay. I went so far as to check the Weather Channel app, and it looks like it's going to be a balmy 45 in Green Bay on Sunday. So it doesn't look like weather will be a factor. So I'll roll the dice and take the Niners getting 2.
I don't know about. I know DeVito. Chris, let me get back to you before I get back to Joe, because I know Xbox is there. He really wants you to say the Giants over Tampa Bay.
No.
With the switch out at quarterback, does it get any better?
No. I mean, it'll get more interesting and exciting. And my former neighbor, aka Tommy DeVito's dad, he'll be in attendance, and I'm sure he'll get a lot of camera time. But no. And remember, the reason the Giants couldn't get Jaden Daniels or Drake May is because Tommy DeVito went and won a couple games. I'm not blaming him, but it was a great story last year. But I just think it was really interesting that Dable skipped over Locke, who they gave $5 million to be a backup, and went right to DeVito. So that either tells me they're playing to try and get at or near the top of the draft board, or this is a 1 week audition for Tommy before they hand it over to Locke the rest of the way. So I'd stay away. I think the Bucks are a team that's down the stretch got a favorable schedule, and frankly could win the NFC South if they go on a run here. And I don't think they slip up against the Giants.
I love you're cracking us up. It's, by the way, it's SPORTS. I just wanted to say that out loud. It's 5.5, Chris. I just can't. Xbox got nothing but love, man. I would want to set you down that wrong path. And DeVito might just do that crazy thing like Chris was talking about, win another couple games just to ruin the Giants season. But yeah, that 5.5, that's pretty stout for me. I think Mayfield might tee off on the Giants.
Yeah, and it's not like their defense has been playing that great this year. And Dexter Lawrence came out today and said Daniel Jones should still be the starter. I think Lawrence is a great player, but I don't trust his football talent analysis. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe there's already dissension in that locker room, and we could be looking at a tailspin here for that D on the rest of the season.
Well, any other picks, Joe, for this weekend that stick out to you, my friend? Joe? We got a mute there. Go for it.
Are you talking upsets or for sure things?
Sure thing. Something that sticks out to you for this
I would say the one I have that's for sure is Kansas City.
Okay.
Kansas City, I think, will win by a couple touchdowns.
They're going to be pretty ticked off, I imagine.
It's the Chiefs are a nice team. They're nice players. There's not a lot of dumbasses on that team, and of course, Andy Reid is always an even kill guy. Same with Patrick. But they'll go to Carolina, and they'll be like, "Look, let's open up the book a little bit, and let's get back on track." And I think that's what's going to happen here. And it's an easy pick at this point. Carolina's worst situation was the Chiefs losing last week, because the Chiefs just kept playing with their food, right? They kept playing with their food, and then finally it bit them. So yeah, I think the Chiefs are gonna. I think they're gonna cover 11 in Carolina. Tell her I said hi too, Ralph. I'll see y'all next week.
Before we head on out, Chris, I know you and your son are working on some good things at, of course, the Domination Sports Nation.
Yeah, thanks, Gerald. So next week's show will definitely be covering Week 12 in the NFL. Yeah, we're starting to see the playoff picture materialize here a little bit, but still a lot of time left. And we know there's going to be a team or two that kind of sitting there around 500 or so that makes a run. We see it every year. So trying to forecast those teams. College football is getting even more interesting. Got some important games coming up this Saturday. Ohio State, Indiana is intriguing for one. So trying to also forecast some of these slots for the bowl picture. It's funny. When they had 4 teams, there was always controversy. And now you're already hearing the chirping in the manufactured hot takes show that comes out every Tuesday with the playoff rankings 1 through 12, and we're gonna have more of that. I mean, it's great that you'll have more teams. It'll make for interesting football games to watch, playoff games that are hosted at home field for certain schools. That's going to be great, but we're still going to have this conjecture and debate and all the hot takes associated with it. So we'll talk about that, and then too the NBA starting to heat up. I think for Dom and I, one of the big things that stood out this week is that Inside the NBA, one of the best, if not the best sports studio shows out there. I would contend with the original NFL Today with Brent Musburger and company. Looks like they'll be back, and they're subcontracting it out to ESPN next year, which is a win-win because judging by what I see tonight watching my Knicks play the Suns, ESPN is yet to figure out what to do with that studio. So I think that's a win-win too. And you can follow us on Instagram at Domination Sports Nation.
You're shaking your head, Joe. Why is that? Let me get you.
That group does not belong working with Disney.
Neither does.
I'm worried, guys. I'm worried.
Neither did Darth Vader, and he's been all right.
He's been all right in a few films, but they butchered everything else. They actually got that one a little bit right, but that's because they didn't have to spend a lot of time on Darth Vader like they did a normal story. Kind of give us something.
But I have a feeling if Charles does not like where he's at, or if they tried to restrict him on anything, he's going to walk.
Full of shit. Charles full of shit. He's been saying he's going to retire for 20 years. You're not going to give up that kind of money. Whether it's coming from Disney, whether it's coming from Al-Qaeda, he'll collect that money, shut up, and time to do a show, and then just keep yapping about how he's going to retire. What the hell is he going to do? If he retires and goes home and does nothing, he'll weigh 800 pounds. There's no way.
But I agree with you, Chris. The ESPN NBA shows on television, they're forgettable, and that's not very good. They're just if you miss weeks of their NBA programming, as far as their studio shows are concerned, whether it's their daily stuff or their stuff, in between the games or before or after the games, doesn't really matter because you're not missing a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Simmons had that job once upon a time. I rest my case. But regardless, what I think is intriguing is it's going to be produced by Warner, and I'm sure they'll be cutting the check. So I wonder, too, is it going to be a situation like with Pat McAfee where he kind of was doing his own thing out there on his pirate ship of sorts, and ESPN said, we want to hire you. And he said, all right, here are the terms and conditions. I won't curse because I'm going to be on broadcast TV, but you're not going to tell me what to do. So I wonder if we're going to have something like that, and yet again the agents and the lawyers will have all the fun.
Well, we'll see what happens. It is, of course, Chris Sardieri along with Dom Lardieri. Please go ahead and check out their great show, The Domination Sports Nation, whenever you can, covering the world of sports as well. Chris, great to have you here, my friend. We are going to go ahead and change over to the Lakers fast break, but any last thoughts, Chris, before we head on out?
Yeah, so I'll turn it over to you guys. A nice little segue and promo and lead into your show. Are you guys okay with LeBron taking a break from social media? Will that be a topic tonight?
Joe will make it a topic whether I like
All
it
right.
or not. So yes, he'll do it. Yes.
All right, good. As long as you hit on that, then I will be listening.
There you go. Absolutely, indeed. It is, of course, Chris Sardieri from the Domination Sports Nation. Please check him out today, wherever you get your podcasts. You can tell because our audience wants to talk about it, and Joe wants to talk about it as well. I could just tell. You just learn these things. But yes, stay tuned. Coming up right after this is, of course, the Lakers fast break and a snack pack for you from all of us right here at Inside Sports Fantasy Football. And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's a Lakers snack pack, everyone. Coming off the heels of Inside Sports Fantasy Football, it's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from the ISFF, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. I cannot wait to start talking some Cobra Kai on the weekend. Also, as well, Wicked and Gladiator 2 coming out to theaters. Also, some Dune Prophecy as well. Can't wait to talk to Melinda about that on this weekend show. But also, as well, of course, one of our great friends that are out there, starting with the Lakerholics crew, Lakerholics.com. John Costas, Clutch Talk and Lakers Cornered. Empire Jeff TV, covering the Lakers and the Dodgers. Lakers in 5. John McCallion Channel. Alfred Esmond, who will be here tomorrow and may even be here for the post game as well. He's really amped up because his Orlando Magic is going to be playing against the Lakers. Don't forget that. Playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. I do have 20 VIPs. I try to dish out as best I can. First come, first serve on that. So join us for the experience then. But also, big shout out to Legend, Stone Hansen, everybody that's a part of what we do here. Like and subscribe to all those places, but make sure you like and subscribe to us. We are 90 subscribers away from the Magic 2000 barrier. Please help us out by subscribing. And then also as well, big shout out to all of our members. If you want to become a member today, extra emojis, you get badges, you get special videos that are, you get the chance to see first before anyone else. All the good stuff that's out there, articles, so much more, sent to you as a member, right there for you for $2.99 a month. What a great deal indeed from all of us right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Well, the Lakers are 10-4, better than a lot of people expected. And a lot of that has to do in recent days because of one, Dalton Knecht. And it's so funny because I don't want to sit here and toot my own horn, but it's so funny because I hear on ESPN today and all the other talk shows and all that about Dalton Knecht, who's now the flavor of the day because everybody's just talking about him nonstop, saying all the things I've been saying for weeks about Dalton Knecht. Just get him touches, get him rep, get him minutes, get him in that lineup, get him what he needs as far as a shooter out there. And because he looks and he plays the part of someone that can really contribute to this team. The question is, though, for today, and yes, we'll cover the LeBron social media stuff as well. How far will it go for Dalton Knecht? We'll discuss that on today's show. And here today to discuss that very fact is a good man indeed. He is Oxide247 at LakersBall.com. He just was on Inside Sports Fantasy Football and, of course, the company that he owns, Simblades, SimBladesWithAY.com. And T-minus 48 hours for his game that he is helping to get out there to you for the fighting genre, Corrupt. C-O-R-E-U-P-T on Steam. That's C-O-R-E-U-P-T on Steam coming out the 22nd. You will buy it or Joe will find you. It is, of course, Joe Soro. Joe, talk about punching me in the face last night as far as in your commentary. I just think you're getting warmed up for Corrupt.
It's been a 5-year run for Corrupt. It's been a decade-long plus path to possibly the winning lottery ticket, because that's what I equate the entertainment business to. You manage, you sweat, you figure out, you deal with all the elements of a speculative business and all the crap around it. Masochists. We're masochists in this industry. It's all I can equate it to. But boy, did we get through the muck to the point where we got something that no one got in our way to do. Mm-hmm. And we have some stuff out there that's saying that this thing is something people want. Once it's official, and it's not going to take a lot to do that. Heck, even good reviews might be able to do it, let alone the amount of units that we think we can get here in the next week, month, 3 months. Once that's solidified, then we're talking about the ascension that we were building for, because one of the great things, one of the great assets that this intellectual property has is it's got very, very little in it. It's not run by a committee. It's not a public entity. It's a private entity, almost all, if not all, private money. And when you have that, you don't deal with as much red tape and bureaucracy. So that's going to be appealing to those who are going to try to bring that to the table, because now the leverage is going to be on our side. We are not going to have to take a deal because we're desperate. We're going to have something that possibly could already have legs before the big boys come in, and we can negotiate the kind of deals that we want. And that's something that just I couldn't even have dreamed of. I was thinking about it, but I never dreamed about it because it was sometimes too unbelievable. But my God, we're this close. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here very, very soon. And I appreciate everyone putting support in it. Please, I'll give you all the information you need as things progress. But we're feeling pretty good. Well, Ralph, the thing is, it's funny. I had the head designer, the head architect, if you will. He had some talks with Revolt, I remember, a few years back. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, it's a company that was kind of run by Mr. Sean Puffy Combs. And I remember when he first told me that, I'm like, probably want to stay away from him. And Jesse's actually friends with Worldwide West. For those of you who don't know who Worldwide West is, he's part of the crew that's running the Knicks right now, or has started running the Knicks the last 5 years. And you can see how well they've done in New York. They've given the Knicks some relevancy, even though I think they're kind of not doing as well as I thought they would be coming out the gate. But they're still there. There's still plenty of time. So yeah, and I remember after a few meetings with Worldwide West, Jesse's like, "Yeah, I think you're right about that guy." And then, of course, this thing happens 2 years later or so. I'm like, yeah, sometimes you just know. Sometimes you could just look, and sometimes you can just feel, and you can get a sense of things. And yeah, I didn't think it would be to this point, but then again, I wasn't surprised either. But yeah, we're very excited. Friday's going to be the big day, and I'll keep you guys updated on what's going on. I think it's going to come out at 9 a.m. Friday. I think that's the time. Quote me on that yet, but that's the plan. And then we'll see where that carries us.
Absolutely. The type of community I hope it's going to be a good, large one, active one that wants to facilitate only the best for your game. Because like I said, the community will make or break your game. If they can really support it, it can really do wonders for your game, Joe.
Well, Justin Wong playing the demo for 3 hours in Vietnam, working on the combos. I was watching for about an hour and a half. It was very, very, very validating for us. Justin Wong is a very prominent influencer in this genre. Very nice man, by the way. I've never met him, but Jesse has, people around him that have known him and met him, and that's, to me, based off that information, I've been very impressed when the big guys, the guys that truly influence things, are complimenting a game that apparently looks like a AA or a AAA when it's not even close to what both those games spend. And the industry being in the rut that it's in, it's only going to add probably a timing even more on the importance of the fact that the industry does not want to spend money on development, and the fact that this is developed and will have legs if people are indeed wanting it. It's only going to make it much easier for us to, again, control that particular negotiation. And that, to me, is everything in business. That's what I live for. I live for the upper hand in negotiation, because I'm a fair guy. Okay, I'm not out to screw anybody out of money. I want everyone to get a piece the way they want. And it's a lot of the reasons why I think I've been successful in my life and not had to worry about looking over my shoulder. This is very important. And in these kind of industries, typically you have to be kind of cutthroat to where you got to cut people off. We refuse to do that. We are not going to screw anybody. And anybody out there that comes out with that is likely going to be someone that has absolutely no idea what's going on, or we don't even know who that person is. I mean, we have a tight group. Just don't see it happening. But again, it's America. You can sue people for anything. But again, we never stole any money from anybody. Everybody knows where we are, where we live. Everybody's communicated with. It's just going to come down to now, can we get what we want in this in the end?
If you're successful, they'll find you. If you're a bomb, they won't care. But if you're successful, yeah, people will come out of the woodwork for you. They always do.
Oh, some are already coming out. There were some investors or an investor that ended up trying to do some things, and now people that are in charge of his estate are asking questions. So yeah, there's no doubt there's going to be something. But there's the beautiful thing about having a good lawyer and things in writing. It's kind of like Jeannie with Jim Buss. Like she had power over the team, so no matter what Jim was thinking or saying, she was eventually going to get the control of the team and jettison him out. We're in that position. There's nothing we have that's going to contradict our process, and that's the great thing about that. But small potatoes, again, we know that that's the industry. We know that people come after you for anything because that's, people are trying to get an easy buck. But we're not going to have to likely deal with it too much because it's going to be successful, and the industry is going to want this thing to be successful because it's going to be good for a lot of people. We're talking not only the video game, we're talking about the sequels, we're talking about spin-offs, we're talking about animation, TV, we're talking about possible movies, TV shows, obviously merchandise. I have a big piece of the merch, which is really the thing that will set my grandkids, my great grandkids, likely for life should this hit. The piece I have in merch is what's going to really be the big one. So game sales, sure, numbers are good, but the merch is forever. So if Corrupt becomes a $1 billion universe or IP, that merch is going to be a billion as well. And then we're talking about a whole different lifestyle, and it's going to be a good one because everybody's going to benefit with me, including you all here listening.
It is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Joe Glassford. Thanks again for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you need any assistance on where to go, I put it in the chat. I put it in the description. If you are a part of the fighting game genre, if you enjoy it at all, even going way back to MK, your origins of that, or Street Fighter, go ahead and check out For Joe on Steam today. Corrupt. Coreupt. Getting back to the Lakers, my friend, they will be playing Orlando. Orlando will be coming off a second of a back-to-back. They did lose this evening to the Clippers at the Toilet Bowl, but they're still 9-7. They're still, I think they just lost third place to the Knicks, who beat Phoenix in Phoenix tonight. Yeah, they did. So they're just a half game behind them for third place, but they're one of 4 teams in the Eastern Conference. They do play really good defense. They're top 5 team defensively. They're still absolutely horrid on the offensive end. But if the Lakers can go ahead and find ways to continue the successful run for Dalton Knecht. So before we get into any of the stuff with LeBron and the social media stuff, because I know you guys want to talk about it, Dalton Knecht's rise, something that's very satisfying to me because, again, as I said, I watched all these shows, watched all these highlights, watched all these YouTube channels, watched all these talk shows that are suddenly seeing Dalton Knecht as the flavor of the day, saying the things I've been saying and that you've been saying for weeks on end. Stuff that we've been saying since the draft about how it is. And of course, a lot of draft analysts had thought the same thing, that the Lakers got a good bargain at 17. but they kind of fell off the radar as far as him because, start the season, 6 minutes here, 9 minutes here. And I told you, Joe, he needed minutes, he needed touches, he needed to be in a rhythm in order to really see exactly what you have. And I know there was some people in our chat saying, well, why don't we do that for Reddish? Or why don't we do that for this player? Or why do we do that for that player? Or Christie or what have you? It's what this kid has. I've been evaluating this kid from the moment he stepped into a Lakers jersey, the minute he put that on and played in that California Classic, and since then watched so much. I've even watched him live. You see things, Joe, when you see that player, you think if given the opportunity, can really get it done.
I think Dalton Knecht, if he ends up winning Rookie of the Year, will probably put a kibosh on the fear of drafting anyone over 21.
And magically, he has moved up to the number 2 spot as far as favorites for the Rookie of the Year behind Jared McCain, Joe. Funny how that happens.
A little premature still.
I think it's a little. But
14, but what rookie right now is really shining? I think Knecht might actually be the most popular rookie right now.
It's McCain still based off the stats, but with Max
McCain,
coming back.
But impact. It's the impact.
Yeah.
Yesterday's game was, that's what someone said Klay Thompson, and I thought that's exactly what he looked like. He looked like Klay Thompson making those shots. Rookies are not supposed to play like that. They're not supposed to play like that. 9 3-pointers, and he hit what, 6 in a row? Oh, and on top of that, Reeves gets him at almost half court for an alley-oop, and he gets it? What the hell? LeBron, people are talking about LeBron's social media situation. I liked what LeBron said yesterday, that the NBA, all 16 teams ahead of this, effed it up. It's true. They effed it up. This was not, now, it was never going to be realistic that he was going to get picked in the top 5, but he should have been picked in the late singles.
Because of his age, let's clarify out there.
Because of his age, yes. Because of these, and we've talked about general managers in the NBA being complete duds. I mean, it's no secret that NBA general managers are horrible. Might be the worst position in sports in terms of people that are in that spot. Do these guys go to the gyms? Do they go and watch basketball? I don't know. Maybe they send scouts, or are you out there looking with your own eyes? I'm going to take a guess that they only send scouts out. I don't trust anyone. You got to do what Jerry West used to do. If Jerry West is going into gyms and doing workouts with high school kids, who the hell are you not to do it? What are you doing all day? Do you know basketball? And the thing is, it's crazy because a lot of these GMs are ex-NBA players, yet they don't know how to do their job. It's so just, they're there just to get the perks of the job, probably. That's probably why. But this is, if Knecht ends up winning Rookie of the Year, you're probably going to stop seeing 23-year-olds looked down as guys that are second-class players. Because this could be a really bad miss for a lot of these teams.
Ralph, I'm going to give him finally some things as far as it's concerned. It's Rob Pelinka, because everybody on their boards, all the NBA GMs out there have their boards on what they project players. Knecht was always considered a lottery level talent and a lottery level pick. It's just people were just, the reason why he fell was mainly his age and the fact that he was 23 coming into the season. And you're talking about, upward potential and things of that nature. It's not going to be as high as, let's say, someone that's, a kid, 18, 19, 20. So that's why he kept on falling down to the Lakers. Ultimately, it's Rob's choice on who to pick for the move. Obviously, he saw how far he was going down on the draft boards. Obviously, he's, the other players, the buses and whoever else was in the room, the scouts said, you know what, this kid, he's got quality level talent. He's a big time shooter. You know, JJ was in the room with him, sitting right next to him, Joe, as a fellow shooter, seeing what this kid could possibly do for the team. And especially because some of the centers were starting to disappear, it looked more and more like Knecht should be the way that it needed to go.
Well, there are two teams that missed that he would have immediately been able to give them impact. That's the Thunder at 12, and then the Sixers a pick before us. So both the Thunder and the Sixers pulled a Laker of 2023. Imagine if Knecht had gone to the Thunder. I mean, Presti would have probably won Executive of the Year for 5 years in a row just because of the sheer genius of that. I bet you he's punching himself now a little bit. Boy, could you imagine if he had gone to Oklahoma? That would have been that might have been, if he continues to play like this, that might have been the one that really puts him over for the year.
Because he has so many defenders around him. So it's okay to have a 46% shooter out there right now from three, chucking away, that may not have the greatest defensive skills. If you could put a Alex Caruso, a Lou Dort, Williams, Holmgren when he gets back, Hartenstein is coming back in the next game or two. So yeah, you've got a whole bunch of great defenders. Man, that would have been just like, oh my God, they did it again, Joe. You know what I mean?
As far as Rob is concerned, it's under his watch, so you got to give him credit, sort of.
Yes.
So he botched the 2023 draft pick, but he might have had. He's definitely going to have a first team All NBA player here in year one. So that's something to hang your hat on at this point. Whether it's enough for them to make a run, probably not. But what it does is it opens up some options now. The Lakers are going to have to make that decision before the deadline.
They have older players that they've drafted too in recent years, Ralph. They don't draft strictly based on age. They do draft based on evaluations, and they do take chances because they have so many opportunities. But they don't always base their drafts on age, Ralph. From what I've seen as well, I've evaluated their drafts, and yeah, not all their draft picks have been based solely off of, them being younger, on the younger side. They do have some draft picks that they based on age, a little bit older. But you're right, 23 years old. A lot of teams are going to pass them by just for that reason, and some of them may be regretting it today. Jared McCain, same thing. Jared McCain was drafted a little bit later, just before. In fact, he was drafted just before Dalton Knecht, and those guys are right now 1 and 2 in the running for Rookie of the Year. So we'll see what happens.
I was saying that was I remember Khalil Ware coming off the board, and I kind of wanted him initially. I was kind of like between Knecht and Ware a little bit, but then I just didn't think about Knecht at that point. It was just not in my. I didn't think about it. I didn't think that he would drop.
We started hearing it about pick number 14, number 15, like what's going on with Knecht? Why is he dropping? Why is he dropping? Started hearing that actually on the broadcast and started thinking that, okay, but he was
as soon as what's the lottery? It's 14, right? 14 and up. That's the lottery. So he fell out of the lottery and still dropped another 3 slots. Shoot, man, it's a good thing too, because I think the Magic would have picked Knecht. Imagine if he had gone to the Magic a pick later.
Yep, that would have been exactly what they needed.
It's an exact opposite of what happened in 2023, and that's just what it is. So
What's up, Alan?
I'm just happy the Lakers got this, and it's going to give them some options here. I think there's a possibility now, if they had to unload, let's say, Reeves or Rui, of course, D'Angelo, in some kind of a trade. I know that hurts to move Reeves because We do like Reeves. I don't want him to go anywhere, but there would have to be something that has to go out. But if there's a bona fide third guy that they can go after, and you have someone like Knecht that can shoot, Knecht's already a better shooter than anyone on this team. That's a fact, right? Am I wrong?
No,
No,
you're right.
I'm not wrong on this one. That's for sure. He's got a future being a 42, 43% type 3-point shooter, and that's a hell of an arsenal to have in today's NBA, especially when you have LeBron averaging a little over eight assists. It's not an accident that the Lakers are playing well when he's playing the point. And for those of you who get mad at LeBron for having 6 or 7 turnovers, folks, he's distributing the ball. That's what happens when you're the point guard, especially a guy in his position where he's got to force a lot of things because the team isn't as equipped to score easy baskets series after series after series. They still kind of have to struggle to get those points. It's going to be an interesting couple of months here before the deadline. There's gonna be some talk there. Whether anything happens or not, it's up for debate. But there's gonna be a lot of talk. Heck, they were talking about they had odds on Embiid being traded to Indiana now, and the Lakers were like on the bottom or something. I'm like, where do these guys come up with this crap?
You see again what I said earlier about a week ago. He was a plus 2,500. Now he's been lowered right behind Jared McCain to plus 225. That's fun. It's so funny. 4 games. That's all it's taken. And that tells you, I think that tells you about the rookie class in and of itself, that 4 really good games can change the whole perspective people have on rookies. But I want to ask you this. How good can Knecht stay? And as far as just, we always talked already about how we expect at some point in time, a wall that he's going to hit simply because, the college basketball season is 30 some odd games, 40 games, if you go into the playoffs and whatnot. But, the season for the NBA, that's just half the season right there. So at some point in time, we expect him to hit a wall. But how good can this kid be? And should you keep him in the starting lineup? I say yes on both.
He's only averaging a little over 20 minutes a game.
That was some of that's based off the early season when he was only getting 6 to 9 minutes, though.
So let's say he plays 8 more minutes a game, 28 minutes a game the rest of the way. Is that something that's going to tire him out? Probably. Because again, you still have to factor in you're playing 50 more games, almost 50 more games in an NBA season versus what you usually play in college and in high school. He will hit a wall. My hope is right around February, he hits the wall a little bit and the Lakers make an addition that helps them. The only way the Lakers are winning a championship is they have to somehow get a third guy in here that's a difference maker with LeBron and AD playing the way they're playing. That's how I look at the season. It looks like the Lakers have the right idea going through here. They have been fortunate playing teams where they're missing a lot of their stars. That's something you have to take into consideration, folks. You have to take that. Hell, they're playing Orlando tomorrow, and Paolo's not playing. They just keep running into the same luck with all these teams where their main guys aren't playing. But we're not going to apologize for that. They're not going to apologize for it. You play who you can play. Good thing is they're winning. Win it now. Maybe this bumps up your confidence enough to when the teams are at full tilt, you're going to feel like, hey, we can still win this. But the Lakers still need one more guy. They need one more guy that can at the very least either be really, really good next to AD in terms of being a backup for him and not having the Lakers completely fall apart when AD goes to the bench, or a scorer that can score without much offensive sets, somebody that can get you a bucket when you really need it.
So before we get to your thoughts on LeBron James and his canceling all of his social media or suspending all of his social media for now, you'll like this, Joe, because I'm not sure if you caught this today. I came via the usual Laker sources in regards to Vando, because I know a lot of people are asking about Vando, especially with the Lakers defense not being the greatest in the world. Not even close, which is something that, we still talk about each and every time out. But Jared Vanderbilt and his ramp up after the offseason, according to what the team is saying, and his offseason foot procedures, where he had surgery on both feet in May, has gone slower than the Lakers have anticipated. Who would have imagined that, per the team? There have been, Joe, now get this, this is the funny part. Even though it's gone slower than the Lakers anticipated, there have been no setbacks, however, and he'll be reevaluated in a couple weeks. Your thoughts on this continual Jared Vanderbilt saga? We talked about how Rob should get some of the kudos for drafting Dalton Knecht. He also should get a lot of blame for signing Jared Vanderbilt to a 4-year extension when he was already hurting with feet. He ultimately would have double surgery on, and just a little bit after that.
Jared Vanderbilt is useless. That's for you, Jay, since you want to talk about something new. Jared Vanderbilt is absolutely useless. You don't play, you're useless. You are no better than us. I can sit on that bench and do hand gestures and wear stupid clothes and act like I'm really there. You're not. You're collecting your money, playing with your balls, wearing stupid outfits, and that's it. And to me,
That jumpsuit last night, I have no defense for.
he's useless. I don't even think about Jared Vanderbilt, even before finding out this news. I don't even consider him on the team. And Christian Wood, I think I had forgotten about him. I was talking about the Lakers with some friends of mine, and one of them brought up Christian Wood. I'm like, oh yeah, we got about Christian Wood.
That vengeance tour, Joe. That vengeance tour.
Vengeance my ass. Yeah, he's that guy in the Punisher movies where he thinks he can take on Frank Castle, and then he's the first guy that dies with a sword going through his skull.
Shouting the Wilhelm scream.
That's a good one. My first experience with the Wilhelm scream was Indiana Jones, The Temple of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when spoiler alert for those 4 people in the world that haven't seen that movie. When Indiana cuts the bridge, and that's what I remember. I was like, what? I remember when I was a kid, I was like, why is that guy yelling like that? And then I heard it in another movie. And then I heard it in another movie. And I'm like, why do I keep hearing that same scream? Great.
Like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Yeah, Jay, at this point, Bronny has more value than Vanderbilt. At least he can get on the court. I mean,
Not
he can't
right now,
play, but he can get on the court.
Not right now, because he has that left heel contusion.
Oh, that left heel contusion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Why do you think Olivari was sitting on the bench last night?
I don't know why Olivari's on the bench. They're not going to use him.
Well, they had to suit him up because
because they had to fill up the roster. Sure. Mm-hmm. Cool, bro. No one gives a shit. Go away.
But yeah, Vanderbilt, it's been a disaster so far, and I know, I don't know even why. Don't ask us to put him part of a trade. Nobody would want him or Vincent right now as far as trade. Their trade value for those guys is as low as it could possibly be, Joe.
It'd be a favor. That's it. Be some kind of a favor, and I don't know who Rob knows in this league that would give him a favor like that. I don't know. Maybe Cleveland, maybe Washington. I don't know. Danny Ainge ain't gonna do it. Danny Ainge, if you wanted to unload some contracts at Danny Ainge, he'll make you give him 5 first-round picks. He's out of his mind.
JSJ, no, it was actually after, I don't think it was in practice. I think it was when he did that hefty 4-point average in the G League. He's been averaging, so yes, on sparkling 20% shooting. So, yeah, absolutely. A lot of work there. But before we head on out, it is, of course, the Lakers fast break. Do want to mention tomorrow we will be having a pregame. Alfred Esmond's going to stop by. He's a big fan of the show, big part of the show as well. Anytime he stops by, so knowledgeable about the game of basketball. He is stopping by during a stint. He has some time off for the World Baseball League that he covers, as far as all the stuff that he does for that outlet, and he's absolutely greatly appreciated whenever he's here. He might even stay late for the post game as well. But and also, of course, don't forget playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break during the game, and VIPs will be available. First come, first serve there. But before we head on out, Joe, here it comes. You do what you want to do on this one. I don't care. I know Cool Bro started freaking out about it. He wrote a little tizzy about it in his brand new website he just created on the air yesterday about LeBron James saying he's going to suspend his social media. I don't care. And in many ways, that might be a good thing from, me having to worry about his passive aggressive tweets, his hourglass, his other stuff that sometimes are, like trying to initiate something for a trade or Rob, get your ass in gear type deals. As far as that's concerned, his tweets that are just trying to point out other subliminal messages. At this point, maybe it's good that he takes a break. Again, that's his deal. I don't follow him. I just get the retweets that are sent out by some of the Lakers media whenever he puts out an hourglass or something that is supposed to push buttons. But not a big deal to me, but I know it's a big deal to other people. And Joe, I know it's something that crossed your mind as well.
Well, it's the constant issue with LeBron and his immaturity. Just stop messaging. Why do you have to announce it? That's something I've said to people, not even that are famous. Just, I'm just going to get off social media. So just get off. No one gives a shit. And for those of you who don't know this already, I'm going to start making this aware for everyone in case they don't understand or know. There are professional trolls out there, millions of them, thousands, I'd say, at least thousands, hundreds of thousands, that are purposely trying to piss you off online. They actually set up warehousing to troll people. And this is how you know. Notice that whenever you go to a post, doesn't matter if it's on Instagram or Facebook, whatever, the first message in that post is always some guy that's completely opposite. It's almost 90%, or almost 100%, I should say, like 90%. That first comment is always some asinine comment. And then you have 50 messages saying, oh, you suck. Oh, they got you. Don't ever answer that post. Somebody's doing that on purpose just to mess with you. The contrarian. Kind of like this law ass that keeps commenting about how the Commanders and how Jane Daniels should be MVP. Yeah, okay. Whatever. These guys exist, and they're out there, and they're trying to bomb every post. And if you haven't figured that out yet, you need to start figuring it out. As far as LeBron James is polarizing because he has allowed himself to be polarizing. He talks too much when he shouldn't, and there's a nice blend of sometimes some good things that he does. I'm talking about in terms of talk, much like how he did yesterday. The fact that he said that 16 teams screwed up. He's right. He's right. There's a chance, should Knecht continue to play like this the rest of the year, he might end up being the guy that probably should have been picked first. That happens sometimes. That happens. But we're going to kind of press the brake a little bit. Let's see how things play out. LeBron set this up. He set this up too. You know, you can't lie. Even if it's your kid. Can't lie. Okay? Just, you got what you wanted. Things are working out. Your kid got a contract. Ride it. But don't insult our intelligence and tell us that this guy, you and Rich Paul have been yapping about this for 7 months now. Stop, just shut up about it. Your kid is not an NBA player. He never will be. Just enjoy the ride. And that's kind of my advice on LeBron. And I don't really want to think about LeBron off the court anymore. It's exhausting. I just want to focus on the Lakers winning here because I'm here about the wins. I'm in the results business, and right now the Lakers are producing results, and I want to ride that wave as much as I can. And LeBron is a catalyst when it comes to the court. There's nothing better than LeBron getting to the basket. There's nothing better than LeBron controlling the tempo of an offense and getting assists the way he is, because it changes the whole dynamic of the team. It impacts the team more than any other way of running the team. That's a good thing.
I'll just add on to this, just saying, you know what, with LeBron cutting off his social media, that again, it might be good for him to allow him to focus more on basketball, and hopefully for the Lakers as he gets closer to the big 4-0. It's what the Lakers need. But yeah, Joe, it just, you know, when it comes right down to it, I'm not worried too much about it. I'm not spending too much about thought on it. People are talking about the Diddy parties and all that stuff. If he was truly guilty of anything that he did in these Diddy parties, I think he'd act more concerned. He doesn't seem to ever act concerned about it to the press or when he's out there. He seems to be enjoying himself. Certainly looked like he was having a good time yesterday, Joe. So I don't think that's because of the Diddy parties. But again, the trolls, like you said, they're just going to keep on trolling. They troll this show. They troll this channel. They troll all over. It's what the trolls do. It's how you react to them. And if he doesn't want to be on social media for now, maybe that's not such a bad thing.
That's probably why he's getting off. It's starting to get to him. You have pictures of him out there with a maid's outfit, and with the way AI is producing fake stuff these days, you don't know what's real anymore, and it's exhausting to have those kind of things going on. X Twitter is a dumpster fire to me. I hate it. I have one because it's part of the way to communicate with people, but I don't really post on it just because I have a Facebook, and I have a private Facebook where I usually talk to people within work situations. I sell things on Facebook, and of course I have my friends on there. It's a little more private. A lot of the jackass people that I know are like, "Oh, that's an old way of doing things." I'm like, "No, it's not. It has nothing to do with old. It's more controllable than, let's say, Instagram. Instagram is my business page. I'm not a picture guy. I don't go take pictures and I don't do that. I'll write stuff. Sometimes I might throw a funny political story on there. More often than not, it's sports, especially if there's a playoff run. If you follow my Facebook, you saw a lot of Dodger stuff here this last year. I switched my Punisher logo to Freddie Freeman taking over the Statue of Liberty in New York. And I know that's probably disrespectful for New Yorkers, but it's been a while since I've seen a guy own New York like the way Freddie Freeman owned New York. It was quite amazing. I mean, you could say Reggie Jackson-esque, but I wasn't coherent enough to remember those. I was born in '78. But my God, the ownage was just too hard to not support. And that's the extent of my social media life. I prefer this forum. I prefer this kind of social media where I can speak. You can see my face. I can do it face to face too. Only coward pieces of filth bitches try to act tough online, and that's just what it is.
JSJ, there's nobody's in their right mind would want to take Vando, a guy that had injuries in both feet, currently still out, and has 4 years left on his contract. Even if it's only 11 mil per year, it's why would you take down that contract unless you're getting the 2 first-round picks attached to it? And again, what are you getting back? Are you getting a player that's going to help you? It was so funny because someone in the chat said that, yeah, the Lakers should go and get an 18 point a game 3-and-D wing. They're all over the place, Joe. They're so easy to get. Let's just go down to the marketplace and, just go pick one up right there.
Who? Anybody know off the top of their head who the 3-and-D guy is out there?
That could score that averages 18 points a game. That's available.
Mm-hmm.
Still waiting.
Oh yeah, Jaylen Brown.
Kind of
Tatum.
Yeah, I don't think those guys are. Well, they may leave because of the price tag, but that would be
Supermax players. Guys, the only 3-and-D star, let's say, is Giannis. And then I used Tatum and Jaylen Brown as a players that aren't really actually are they really 3-and-Ds like Giannis? I think Giannis is kind of the standard, right?
Grant is no longer averaging 18 points a game. He's down to 17. His average has dropped since it started out in the in the low 20s. And now that there's a fixture on putting out the young guys out there, like Donovan Klingen's playing now, Scoot Henderson's in the starting lineup. Donovan Klingen, like I said, is in the starting lineup. Grant is still part of that starting lineup, but to unload his salary about 30 some odd million, you're going to have to give up too many pieces, in my opinion, to go after someone like that. And Grant is not someone that's going to, if you bring Grant in, Joe, you're probably going to have to give up an Austin Reeves as far as part of the package and something else in order to go ahead, like a D'Lo or something like that because of its expiring, whatnot. Is that just a trade-off? Is that all you're doing?
I have no doubt that if the Lakers are to get a third impact player, they're going to have to give up Austin.
Yeah.
That's why Knecht playing well is so important here. If he does continue to play like this the rest of the year, ends up winning Rookie of the Year, there's going to be some talks about having to throw in Reeves in there. Because you have to get you have to get that guy. You have to get that third guy that can make a shot at any time.
Oh, Alan, that's a Laker Tom wish trade right there. JHS Gabe and D'Lo with a second-round pick for Grant. I think if you called right now the Portland GM and asked and proposed that trade, I think all you would hear is like 5 minutes of laughter and then a click. That's yeah. Ask yourself, if you're the other side, when you guys make these trades and you ask for these trades, why would they be interested in taking on Gabe, who is a 3-point a game player with another $10 million next year that you would owe him on the contract and a second-round pick for Grant? They're asking for a first-round pick. If not one, they'll try to ask for 2. Probably only one will get him, for whoever wants to get him. But yeah, that's D'Lo and JHS expiring money, but that's only $22 million. And if you want to take on Gabe's contract or you want Portland to do so, you're going to have to give a lot more than a second-round pick on top of that, Joe.
They're going to have to give up draft picks in any deal they do.
And if he stays healthy, I would rather see them get Robert Williams if they have to go ahead to Portland. But I'm not thoroughly convinced that Robert Williams will stay healthy for the entire season because it's been pretty shaky. Although it looks good right now. He's been looking good right now, but for how long? We'll see.
We're going to know in a couple months. We're going to know a couple months. We're going to have to wait.
There you go. There you go, Alan. He said he would sweeten it by giving them Palinka for free.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Alan. I don't know. Are you really Laker Tom?
In disguise. Yes. Alan, Robert Williams is definitely injury prone. I just said that. Yes. He's coming off of surgery. He has had constant knee issues. He is playing well right now. Teams are keeping an eye on him to see if because he's got an easy $13 million contract. So that's easy to trade. And I think, again, if he stays healthy to the trade deadline, he will be traded. DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, those would be harder for trade. Anthony Simons might be another name that could be on the list for Portland to trade as well. JSJ says if Kessler and Sexton is worth only one first-round pick, would you all do it?
No.
So you wouldn't give up one first-round pick for those two combined?
The problem is that won't be protected. I think the 29 cannot be protected due to some CBA rule from what I've heard. Can't. Not for Kessler and Sexton. It has to be – it's still a huge risk, but it has to be a third player that's going to make a difference. And you can maybe possibly compete in the end. I don't believe Sexton or Kessler are those guys. They'll be better, but not championship better.
Alan says he wishes they should just let Cam Reddish play offense, give him a few games to get a rhythm.
Are you serious, Alan? What's going on here, man?
I've talked to him the past couple of days. I've tried
Alan,
to talk him
Cam
out.
Reddish sucks on offense. This is not about him getting more time. He stinks. He's bad.
Not,
It's not even funny, actually. You can see I'm being serious. It's not. He's terrible on offense. He's the Dennis Rodman of offense. You remember Dennis Rodman on offense? He's like that. Maybe Dennis might even be better than him, actually.
Look, Alan, look at the times where he did get quote unquote minutes last season, where he was part of the starting lineup, when he was in the rotation, when he was getting minutes. Look, he was never, ever an offensive threat, as far as continuously. He would surprise you and get a double-digit game every now and then, but for the most part, he could not be a reliable source to get you 10 points a game. And that's the problem. He's just not a good offensive player. He doesn't look good or smooth going to the basket, and he certainly doesn't have a reliable jumper. It did get better. Remember when it started off in Joe, was it like 15 or 16? Oh, actually, it was under 10% at one time. It was under 10%. Then it got, remember the play where LeBron drew it up? They drew it up. Ham drew it up to him. He missed it. After that, he did get a little better. I think he actually even got to the low 30s. It's what he finished off at before, all said and done. But yeah, just not a reliable source of points. It's not only the fact that if he can make those shots, he doesn't want to take those shots, Joe. It's also a matter of aggression. That's the difference between Dalton and a guy like Reddish, or a guy like Christie, or a guy like Vincent, or a guy that's almost every other player on the Lakers roster after the starting five. They don't want to take those shots. Even if they could make them, Joe, they seriously don't want to take those shots, and they automatically always, 9 times out of 10, will always pass it back to LeBron or AD.
And if my memory serves me correctly, that was the last time LeBron passed at the end of a game. And since then, he's been aggressive in trying to get the last second shot to go in. Reddish is not good on offense. Reddish is not good for an 82-game season. Reddish is too skittish. Reddish is too rubbish half the time.
Actually, Alan, you are incorrect. He's never averaged more than 11.9 points in a season. If you want me to give you this basketball reference, this is his stats page. He has never averaged more than 11 points in a season. His high is 11.9. He's never averaged 16 points in a season. Want to look it up? It's right there. LeBron will not trade him, Alan. He has got a minimum contract. He would only be a throw-in. So he's scared to shoot because LeBron will trade him. He's a minimum $2 million player, Alan. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know why you're thinking that. I understand. See, Alan is the prototypical Cam Reddish fan that I heard so much about that were flooding this. As I think it was just about right as you came on, Joe, that were flooding the chat. Oh, you guys got to check out Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish, when he was a backup in New York. This was already when it did work out in Atlanta, and he'd already been traded to New York just before he became a flameout and went out to Portland before he came to Lakers. Oh, yeah, check out the highlights of him in New York with the slam dunk. Slam dunk. This is what happens when you guys look at a highlight from a basketball player. It's you're missing the other 47 minutes and 45 seconds, Joe. You have to look at the overall game and watch the overall game. And remember, Alan, he is only worth $2 million. So you can't just automatically trade him unless you're going to trade him with like a second round pick just to get rid of the salary. So he can play pretty good head up defense right now. That's why he's in the mix, Joe. But for offense, he'll never be a great part of that as long as he's a Laker, Joe.
Get what you can get out of the $2 million, and cool. But I'm not relying on Reddish either.
No. I mean, the stats bear it out. If you go to basketballreference.com, see right there, he has a career 32% from the three-point area. Actually, he's hitting 55% of his three-pointers. Now, mind you, he's only taking one every 48 minutes. That's, you got to take only one every 48 minutes. But he is hitting 55% of them, Joe. He's averaging 4 points a game right now for the Lakers. And this is a problem because that's why Dalton looks – it's the reason why Dalton is looking so good is because the rest of the team after player number 6 is really bad.
No, I don't think it. I don't think
Okay.
Dalton playing well has anything to do with the guys around him not playing well. You can't have. You don't see guys making 9 threes like the way he did. That's not normal. That's elite shooting. He wasn't missing, man, and he wasn't shooting easy shots either. He had people in front of him. He was getting that elevation. First time I saw him elevate and shooting a 3 and nothing but net, I was like, oh, this guy's fundamentals are amazing already. And all he needs is confidence. And man, is he confident? And then that half-court alley-oop from Reeves? Really? Is this what he's going to do? This is a guy that can ball. Improve on the defense, at least get the average. If he can get the average, he's going to start the rest of the year until maybe he gets tired. Maybe he gets burnt out. Maybe the Lakers bring in somebody else where they can bring him off the bench, the first guy off the bench. Who knows? But the Lakers won this draft, this first-round pick. They won big. Regardless if he ends up being a top 5, a top 10, doesn't matter. He's going to be of value on this team for the next 5, 6, 7, whatever many years if he stays with LA. And even if he gets, let's say, traded, he's going to go somewhere where they're going to get something really big in return. That's what it's looking like.
Again, the Lakers, if you're calling the other teams, they don't have many things that they could throw out that other teams want. The 2 picks, of course, if you want to bundle those up, the 2 first-round picks. And then they have Knecht, Austin Reeves, maybe Rui might entice them. I'm not sure. Depends on which Rui you're going to get because he is inconsistent, but he is still, at times, can be a pretty good shooter out there for you and a good player. At times, D'Lo and JHS is just salary filler at this point. D'Lo is just, his reputation is tarnished unless he lights it up again after the calendar year starts like he did last season. Right now, he's just salary filler, him and JHS, because they both have expiring contracts. So that is what is attractive to teams. if you see a Jackson Hayes or a Cam Reddish thrown in there, it's only because their $2 million is needed, Joe, for salary purposes.
Gotta love that CBA, man. That new CBA that they signed without even reading it looked like. It's too bad. I got no idea how this team can. I got no idea how any team is going to be able to work around the restrictions. I'm curious to see how this works. Philly trading Embiid is the news story right now. Am I the only one seeing that? You think that's something they're going to actually do, or possibly see what they can do?
I think, Eric, this draft class has been so weak. Wherever he would have been drafted, he would have shined through. He has that ability, Eric. You're saying that any other team, if he was drafted by other teams, he wouldn't be talked about. Yeah, I understand a little bit getting hyped up on the ESPN because it's their requirement to go ahead and talk about something Lakers ad nauseum. I get it. I get it. I understand it. I know what their directive. I've spoken to them and I've heard them in regards to this. So I get it. And I understand that. But if he was on any of those other teams drafting above him, above the Lakers, he would find a way. His skill would find a way, and he would still probably be where that if they rightly given him minutes, because you can see what he looks like in practice. You can see how he shoots. He has the best shooting ability right now of anyone in the draft class that he's showing off so far. Maybe McCain might match us because they've been talking about him as a 40% shooter himself. Maybe there's another shooter in there, but yes, right now, Dalton Knecht at 46% for the season is the best rookie shooter in the draft. And that shines through on any team that would give him a chance. And I think any team would. Would he be talked about as much? Maybe, maybe not. But again, this is such a weak rookie draft, Joe, that we're talking about Jared McCain, Dalton Knecht, and then it's everybody else.
Usually, you like to think that if it's a weak draft, that someone like Connect would get picked. But the GMs fell for that old player issue. Didn't watch him play. Or maybe LeBron and AD and the Lakers and JJ Redick are making him look good. That could be it too.
And he was drawing up plays, he said, for him that as soon as they drafted him. He obviously, as a fellow shooter that was in the league, obviously understands what these shooters need. And again, I was worried to start the season, he just wasn't getting the minutes. And even when he was out there, he wasn't getting the looks. He was like you talked about Gabe. You talked about Gabe the other day saying he was just running back and forth for his health and cardio. That was Dalton Knecht the first part of the season. He was running back and forth. He'd get like 1 minute to show off his talents. And if he didn't hit the shot, it'd be right to the bench or not getting the ball at all. It took, like I said, the necessity of the fact that the Lakers have a lot of talent that is not working out for the team to finally realize we need to get this kid some reps, get this kid some ups, get this kid some minutes, get this kid some consistent shots. Things that we have been talking about, things that I've been talking about for weeks on end has finally happened, and it's finally paying off for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Still early.
Still early.
Let it ride. If he starts to average 15 to 20 points a game for the next 30, 40 games, then we can start talking about Connect being that guy. But I enjoyed yesterday's heating up shots, just like they do on NBA Jam. That's what it looked like. And players like that already, you don't see a lot of guys do that. Rookie or not, you don't see a lot of people do that. So it's very, very likely that Connect is likely going to be extremely good. But they gotta let this play out a little bit. The Lakers have to play this out because of the rules, and of course, we fans have to be patient enough to let them play it out. And they've earned us being patient at this point because they are 10-4.
Yeah, Che, what if the Warriors had drafted Knecht? Well, they didn't. They just lost DeAnthony Melton, although that's a team that is very deep and deeper than almost any other team in the league, so they can't absorb it. Although I know that DeAnthony Melton was really liked on that team by a lot of people, but he is out for the season after a partially torn ACL that they discovered. So he'll be out for the rest of the season. Very sad for the kid because, again, he had back injuries to start the season, just got back, played a couple games, then hurt his knee. So you always hate to see that, but it is what it is. Again, that's the league. A lot of injuries going around. I'm just hoping Knecht and LeBron and AD and Reeves stay healthy so we can keep this going, Joe. But for tomorrow's game, it is Orlando, them on a back-to-back as they face off against the Lakers. And then Saturday is looming large. I do not know for sure if Jokic will be back. My guess is yes, with our luck. Your thoughts, my friend, on the rest of the week before we head on out.
If Paulo's not playing tomorrow and Jokic doesn't play Saturday, I think the Lakers are in good space to maybe win both games.
There you go.
But down the road, when they actually play a full roster, we're going to see how they play then too.
Surprised by Phoenix because Phoenix 2 weeks ago was one of the best teams in the NBA. And since they've lost Durant, they have been a shell of themselves. I think they went 1-6, 1-7 now, or something like that.
They've lost 5 in a row.
What?
They've lost 5 in a row.
I've lost 5 in a row, but they've been 1-7 since Kevin
Durant was playing phenomenal basketball, and he blew a tire because he has to do all the work. There's not a lot of depth on that team, and you're talking about a guy who blew out his Achilles, so yeah, it's not good. Plus, they played Sacramento twice. They beat the Jazz. They played the Thunder. They played the Timberwolves. They played pretty good teams this whole week and a half. They played really good teams in general, but you need Durant. You can't lose Booker. You can't lose Beal. You can't lose Durant. That's their team. So if one goes out, they're toast, and that's what happened.
Alan, I think, says, as in what about the post up, or I think he talked about it. He was actually saying about what will happen post LeBron.
Post LeBron.
Yeah. Especially if we give up the assets and the first round picks this year.
Post LeBron, it really will depend on when. If he left, let's say after this season, let's say they win the championship, just hypothetically. Would he want to go after 6 or would he retire on top? I don't know. Let's say he retired after this year. You still have AD, who's on, at least from analytical standpoint, right now he's the MVP of the league. What if AD wins the MVP this year and LeBron retires? Now you're building around AD, and you're going to have $50 million to spend to replace him. What free agents will be available in 2025, or what trades for stars will be available? There'll be a chance there where they can probably bring in a star. So
Is AD the MVP right now because of Nikola Jokic's injury?
Well, that and just the analytics right now say that he is. And Dalton Knecht, based off the analytics, he's the rookie of the year right now.
Okay.
Not my numbers, but that's what that is. That's what I've read.
I would still, Jared McCain has a larger body of work for now, but give it another week. I would say if Dalton Knecht can continue, I would put Dalton Knecht at my number 1 spot because we're still basing a lot of this off of 4 games for Dalton Knecht, and that's how bad this rookie class is so far. Is 4 games can shoot you up into the top 3 as far as selections are concerned. So if Dalton could keep on going, yeah, by this time next week he should be everybody's pick for rookie of the year at this point in time. But then again, it's just it's still the start of the season, still November. Still a long way to go in the season. Again, he'll probably hit a wall at some point. He can't shoot 46% from three forever in his rookie season. As long as he stays above 40 by the end of the season, I'll be ecstatic. Won't you, Joe?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we head on out, one last plug. Again, the Lakers will be playing tomorrow against Orlando. Don't forget the pregame with me and Alfred Esmond. Then Joe and the guys and the crew and everyone else be out there on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. And then, of course, the postgame and nightcap right here on the Lakers Fast Break. Any last thoughts on Corrupt before we head on out?
No, once it's out, please go to Steam and buy it and play it. Tell me what you think, and let's take over. The genre needs some new blood. I think we've seen enough of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and of course Tekken is not getting a lot of good talk these days as well. Let's bring something new to the table. Let's bring the fourth network like they did in the 80s with Fox to the table. And I'd like to think that there's a possibility where Corrupt could be the fourth network.
Alan, Tatum is not a free agent in 2025. He just signed a $314 million extension in the offseason. He is not a free agent until the year 2030. 2030, yeah. The summer of 2030. He has a player option, unless he decides, Joe, not to take his player option in 2029 for $71 million. Yeah, so he's not going to be.
Yeah, biggest name probably if he doesn't pick up his player option is Kyrie Irving, I think. Yeah, Kyrie Irving. LeBron, obviously. Brandon Ingram will be a free agent. Julius Randle, all ex-Lakers will be free agent. Jimmy Butler has a player option as well. Tom's favorite player in the NBA, Miles Turner, will be a free agent. Kuminga will be a free agent. Josh Giddey, he's restricted. So there's some talent out there. Van Fleet is got a team option, so maybe Houston drops him. Not only the Lakers, I don't know. I'd have to see what LeBron does first before I could even think about what could happen this summer.
And LeBron has a no trade clause, by the way, Peter, so he can't be traded. He's one of two players in the NBA, him and Bradley Beal, who have a no trade clause. So they can't be traded unless they want to be traded. Like Bradley Beal wanted to be traded away from Washington. That's how he got to Phoenix. If LeBron wants to be traded, he'll be traded, but it's up to him. It's not up to the Lakers because they've put him on a no trade clause. Turbo says, "What's up, fellas? I'll be honest. If I wasn't a big fan of JJ Redick as a head coach, now JJ is proving me wrong. Real JJ Redick is an upgrade over Darvin Ham." Okay. I'm not sure I would have phrased it like that as far as
proving me wrong, lesbian, real, JJ.
Yeah.
Is
I think that must be some like autocorrect on there or something
yeah,
like that.
That's probably what it is. Why would Tatum come to Lakers when he has an all-star team? Yeah, he's not coming to Lakers. He's got a 5-year run here where he can win more titles in Boston.
Yeah. And again, he has a player option at the end of this decade for $71 million. And he'll be 31 at that time. So he may opt out and then just stay on at Boston and just take an even larger contract then. So sorry, guys. Tatum ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So, all right. It is, of course, I just kind of the lesbian real JJ Redick. It's that one kind of.
He was trying to write "Let's Be Real."
I was using this. Yeah, I don't love autocorrect. It's crazy that autocorrect on phones and what have you. Yeah, it is crazy indeed. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with Joe Glassford. Again, tomorrow, Alfred Esmond stops back in. And he'll be here talking about the Orlando Magic. They are playing the Lakers on the back-to-back for them. Can the Lakers still continue their success? We'll find out tomorrow. Of course, the pregame, during the game with playback, and postgame and nightcap is all right here on the Lakers Fast Break podcast.